Thanks again, everyone, for joining us for the virtual meetup here tonight. I know we've come a long way since opening registration back in January of 2019. So we appreciate you hanging in there while we kind of just played wait and see with the way of the world. The Fool's Traverse is an 11-peak mountain adventure that the word difficult doesn't really tend to describe very well. So it's our pleasure as hosts to create an opportunity for the outdoor community here in Southern California to do it as a group and to just share the trail with other like-minded folk, all you kooks out there. So really quickly, if you'd like to follow along using Caltopo, so you can have a visual aid for what Jeremy's going to talk about in a second, you can do so by following the link caltopo.com. Let's see if I could copy and paste it into my browser and share my screen for a second. All right, so really quickly, we'll get into the order of operations. First off, Jeremy Boggs. He's going to be, well, he's a longtime partner with the Fool's Traverse since year one now, so appreciate him going off in this endeavor as well. But he's going to take a few minutes to run through the event logistics, probably like 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20. After he's done, we'll run through a brief introduction to Caltopo and how you can use it to create an itinerary before heading out, not only on the Fool's Traverse, but just in general. And finally, we'll open it up to a Q&A, which Kay, my partner, will help manage by pulling questions from the comments. So if you'd like a question to be answered, leave it in the comments, and she's going to keep them at her disposal. Make sure we don't answer any, just to save time. And at the end, we'll do a quick Q&A and go through those chronologically to kind of answer your questions and give you a better understanding about what the event entails. So Jeremy, if you are ready, you are welcome to take it away. Do you want me to share my screen with the Caltopo so that everyone can follow along, or just hope that everyone has it?
If you can, maybe. If not, if they have it, I'm not 100%, whatever's easiest there.
Okay, I'll open it up and then share it really quickly, and then you can get into it as soon as everyone's clear. Share.
We're all good, and you can hear me all right?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Well, like RJ said, everyone, thank you all for tuning in and trying something new with our Fool's Traverse aspect, trying to do this digital Zoom to try and clear up any questions, concerns, any blank spaces everyone might have. And when questions do arise, like you said, just throw them in the comments. We'll definitely circle back to them. The point is to have everyone feeling confident and ready to do this thing. So I'm going to kind of talk about the day of logistics and what it entails from signing up to leaving totally thrashed at the end of the day is basically the goal. And one of the natures of the Fool's Traverse in general is to sort of have your own course designed. And that's part of the Caltopo aspect we're trying to help people learn. And also by having a couple different ways people can do the peaks. So as we're talking about this, you can kind of think and design what you feel is going to suit you best for your outing on the Fool's Traverse day. If you're going to go for all 11, that's awesome. If you feel like 6 peaks is in your realm or 4 peaks is in your realm, kind of have an idea of which ones you want to do and which ones you think. And then as we go through some of these logistics, you'll see what's going to benefit you best, where the shuttle may come into play, where the water sources may come into play. So all these things we're going to talk about are all going to kind of correlate to the design and the plan that you have for your own specific hike, more or less. So with that in mind, we open up the sign-in at 2 a.m. at Manker Flat, which is the main ski hut trail at Baldy that I'm sure a lot of people have done. And we will set up there with a table and lights and everything. And it'll be, RJ is pointing it out there on the map. And that is where we have our sign in and check in. And it goes from 2 a.m. until 5:30 a.m. You can come and be there a little bit before, so you're getting the gear ready and everything. But starting at 2 a.m. is when we can start checking people in. It's incredibly important to come to the check-in, obviously to tell us you're coming and you're here, and we can sign you in and get your time started so we know you're on the course. At the sign-in, there's also some critical things we need from you. We will all have Forest Service permits for everyone to sign for the Cucamonga Wilderness aspect. It's just a little signature. We'll keep one copy. You guys one copy, and that'll keep everyone legitimate for when they do circle around to being in the Cucamonga wilderness. And then we also will be passing out some of the swag we have, the shirts you guys have, things like that. And it's a perfect chance to get last minute questions answered. Or if you came solo, you'll find some people that are starting out and you kind of put some faces to names, because it's going to be early and it's going to be dark. And so it'll be kind of a good place to just kind of take a tally of who's around you and who's going which directions. Also, one of the other critical things you're going to get at the sign-in is a 3x5 card that is all branded for the Fool's Traverse, and you'll need to carry that with you on the entire hike. And as you check peaks off, there's going to be a punch, like a hole punch at the top of every one of the 11 peaks that you will then need to punch your card so that you can then show us later how many peaks you had been to. Each peak has a special identity punch, so you can't just like hit it 4 times on one peak and say you did it. I know we got a lot more spirit in us than that, and no one's going to do that though. So that's one of the kind of critical things at the sign-in, is obviously getting there and telling us you're part of the event, but getting the punch card, getting your gear, and also getting your permit signed. And then we're pretty much ready to go as a participant at that point. The other aspect that is part of the sign-in process is we offer a car shuttle between Manker Flat and Icehouse Canyon. And this is where the element of designing what type of hike you want to have comes into play, because you have to come sign in Manker Flat no matter what, but you have the option to start at Icehouse or the option to start at Manker Flat. It's totally up to you. It's not up to us. And so that is one aspect. But depending on where you decide to start makes it a little more critical for how you design your car shuttle, because at the end of the event, it is absolutely imperative that you come check out with us up at Manker Flat. If people just leave and don't come tell us, we have no idea who has finished or still on the mountain or anything. So getting back a little bit closer to the car shuttle aspect is we will have a large passenger van that if you decide you want to drive to Manker Flat and leave a car and then take the shuttle down to Icehouse Canyon, and you've designed your hike to then finish up at Mount Baldy, that's perfect, because then we've taken you to the bottom in the morning and your car is waiting for you at the very end of the day. If you decide that you would rather start with Mount Baldy as your first peaks, but you only have one car, your best bet is to drive to Icehouse Saddle. And then when our shuttle comes down to drop some people off at Icehouse Saddle, you just hop in the shuttle and we'll bring you up to Manker Flat, and you can leave your car then at Icehouse Saddle. And you will start and hike Mount Baldy and hike all the way around San Antonio Canyon and then finish at Icehouse Canyon where your car is.
Hey, Jeremy, sorry to interrupt. I want to piggyback off of that, because that is one way to do it. And but I was doing some more thinking with one of our participants at the group hike recently, and it's also a good idea if you don't really want to just wait blindly at Icehouse Canyon Trailhead for a pickup. You could also go check in first and then follow the shuttle bus down to Icehouse. So that way you're not just waiting there and you got the check-in out of the way. So that way you just take the shuttle back up and you start instead of just, yeah. So
that's
just wanted to add that.
Absolutely the best. That's probably the best approach, because it guarantees you that you're following the shuttle and you're not just waiting there in the dark at 2 or 2:30 in the morning, just lurking in the parking lot. I know that cannot be fun, and it lowers the morale of the event and stuff. You can totally come up and follow them down. The third option is some people come in groups and you can set up your own shuttle. When you guys are driving up to the check-in, if you are with a few people, they can leave a car at Icehouse. Everyone piles in one car and drives up to the top, and then you guys have designed your own shuttle at that point, and that's totally okay as well. So that is definitely more or less one of the 3 different ways you can do it. But the key thing also to know about the shuttle is it's only for the morning. We won't be running a shuttle in the late afternoon and for the after party. It only takes place between 2 and 6 a.m. for all of the getting people on the mountains, more or less. But other than that, I'd say it won't be a problem. We're gonna have a large van. We're gonna pile people in it, and if people are feeling like they want to do it that way, they're more than welcome. If they want to use their own cars, it just like goes all hand in hand with how you design the number of peaks and the route that you want to do. I'm sorry if I'm belaboring that point, but it definitely is like kind of how we've designed the event, where it's sort of in your hands and we're not just telling you go to this one, and this one type of thing. It's part of the mountain experience, planning your route and planning a big outing like this.
That's definitely part of the fun here. I want to add to that is like, where if you've done ultra marathons and that's your background, kudos to you, because those are really hard. I've done a few myself, but it's kind of just like hopping from concession stand to concession stand. This is what we like about the Fool's Traverse, is that it's more like an outdoor adventure the way you would plan it if you were going to do it on your own. And I think there's a little bit more to it behind that. So I hope you enjoy the way we do it.
Yeah. No, and it'll make everyone more self-sufficient on bigger outings in the future, where you sort of have a support system right now to do something that you may not have been super into or been weary of before. And we'll get into some of the aid station, the water sources and things, and it may allow some people to take that step into something bigger than what they've done before, which would be even more power to you, for sure. So I feel like we've covered a lot of the starting points, or at least the check-in. It's definitely at 2. You got to come see us. We've talked about the car shuttle. Whether you're starting at Ice House or Maker Flat will determine how many peaks, or which peaks you're going for first. And then from there, let's say you're on the hike, we're kind of moving along with it. The way to gather the points and to check things off is every peak on the course is going to have these small plastic canisters. They'll be about the size of a Nalgene bottle, a little smaller than a football, kind of like the tube of tennis balls type size. It'll be completely branded with Fool's Traverse, all kinds of sayings. It'll make you laugh, and some of them might make you cry, but they have some fun, inspiring things. And there'll be one of those plastic canisters with the hole punch and event info on all 11 peaks. And when you get to each peak, that is basically what you're looking for, is this canister that will be tucked in the rocks. It won't be hidden in some crazy way. It's just going to be put down so it doesn't blow away, more or less. But if you pick up that canister, pull out the little hole punch, and then punch your card on any one of the peak numbers, it'll be very obvious, very easy. So when you're extra tired on peak number 10 or 11, it'll be foolproof. But that is the goal, is on every peak, there will be a plastic canister that you'll find and punch your card so it designates that you've been there. And then we have a couple other little goals that are going to be given out throughout more of the literature that's going to come in the future. But we are having some extra points if people want to do dances on the peaks. If you want to do some dance to get some sweet content, and you may not be doing all 11, but you want to get some extra points to get in the raffles, that's awesome too. And if you want to bring some sort of Halloween mask, some sort of Halloween vibe, because we're getting close to that season, you're more than welcome to lug a mask around to every peak and take a sweet photo that's a little different than the average thing that everyone gets on the peak. And we'll kind of reward that with another extra point into the raffle and stuff like that. And I know we didn't actually talk about it, but we do have prizes from Patagonia and some breweries and Traverse stuff. And that's basically what you're trying to attain for, beyond just getting a sweet outdoor experiences. We do have some things you can win, and it is prizes that are worth the effort that you are putting out, for sure. But other than that, so we've kind of like talked about the check-in. We've talked about when you're on the hike, you're trying to aim for these peaks and find the peak canisters, check off your punch card. On top of that, some of the logistics that are more detailed between the peaks is your water sources and the aid station that we've created. There's 2 water resources that are human powered, I guess. And then there's 2 water sources that are natural. They're just springs or something of that nature. The 2 most important ones are the human-based ones. They're the ones most people seem to use, and I'll start with those first because they're the most simple. But most people, the first one is at the Baldy Notch, at the main restaurant, at all of the human infrastructure that's at the top of the ski lifts. All of that will be open for your discretion, and there won't really be anyone else there until maybe 7 or 8 in the morning when they start actually opening the notch. But that's the first and most reliable human source. That is, you don't have to filter or do anything like that. And then our next most relied upon water source is our aid station that we supply, and it's at Ice House Saddle, which is a perfect moment for anyone coming from Baldy because they haven't had water for quite some time, or people who have done all of Ontario Peak and Bighorn and a lot of the peaks in the Cucamonga Wilderness will have definitely spent hours just hiking up and down constantly. And before they set off towards the main Baldy area, they can also check in at the aid station. So I'm going to cover two aspects to it. Mainly leading into it is they're going to have a ton of water. And they will also be doing mission. The aid station is past participants mostly. So they'll be able to give you information on the event and stuff. But they are going to be hiking down to Columbine Spring, which is a natural spring in the canyon. And they'll be filling up large jugs of water, bringing them up. So it's all waiting there and everything. And they will be able to give you water and pass out things that you need. And then one other aspect to this while you're getting water or food is whether you need any of those supplies or not, we need you to try and stop and at least check in with those people. There'll be likely 3 participants there, and just give them your name and they'll take down what time it is. Because we basically, those people at the aid station at Icehouse Saddle are the only link to know where anyone is really on and where they're at on the mountain and part of the event. So when those people come back, there, RJ's got it up real well, that aid station right there. You can see it's at the nexus of a ton of trails. And then so when the aid station rotates out, they bring us a check-in sheet of who's come through there, and we have an idea of where people are at on the mountain. So even if you don't necessarily need any water or need any like little, snack foods or anything, it won't be, full of tacos there or anything, but they'll have little stuff. And they just more or less need your name so they can say this person's going where and that you've checked in and we're all still good on the mountain. And so that's kind of like where the aid station comes into play with the water. And as you as a participant, just checking in and giving them the, okay, I'm still going on, or I'm bowing out, or whatever it is, kind of small details. It doesn't need to be overboard. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but speaking about the 2 water sources that are natural, if you are coming down Baldy, this would be the scenario where you started on Cucamonga and you're coming down Mount Baldy and you may have run out of water or things like that. Basically, you're going to get water out of the creek at the ski hut, right? About 20, 25 yards from the ski hut, there is a natural source of water that RJ has up, and it'll flow and run constantly. I would filter that though. So if you are thinking you're going to be on the last leg of your journey, you're almost at the end of the event at that time, but this is more an emergency scenario. You probably, if you need a little bit, but at that point, you're only a couple miles from being done and you're a lot closer to beer and tacos. The only other natural water source is in the same vein, where it's kind of as you're hiking out in Icehouse Canyon, and it's kind of more an emergency thing. If you're really like in some dire straits or something like that, there's Columbine Spring, and it's marked on all of the topo maps. It's marked on the maps we'll give you, and that is a delicious source that you don't need to filter if you don't want to, and you can just drink it straight out of the rocks. We haven't had anyone get sick. Hundreds of people have drank it that way that we know, and it hasn't gotten one person sick. So you guys are also welcome to use that. But keep in mind the Baldy Notch, and keep in mind also the aid station for more than just water, but also the ability to check in and talk to those participants. The aid station also too, just a little bit more info, is going to be starting at about 8 a.m. because we don't need those people there necessarily at 2 a.m. But sometime around 8, we find participants are rolling through the saddle and they've done a few peaks and things. And so we're going to have the people in the aid station from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. And so anytime in that window, you'll be able to check in with them, be with them, because once it gets to be a little later in the day after 4, most people have gone on to other parts of the courses, and we want to get people focused on starting to come back more or less to the event and back to Manker Flats, because we can't have people out there too long, more or less. The event, actually, it fully runs from 2 a.m., and RJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2 a.m. to 9 p.m. is as long as you can be on the mountain. Anytime after 9, you're basically disqualified. You can't win any stuff, anything like that. So it's good to kind of know around 8 or so that you're going to be coming down. If you're still out there, because the sun's going to go down at 6. It's a little earlier than normal type of thing. So if you're really going till 7, 8, 8:30 at night, it's going to be a long day. But we need people back to Manker Flat by 9 o'clock so we can know everyone's there and it doesn't get to be 9, 10, 11 at night and there's still people out on the mountain. That just wouldn't work for people trying to run an event in a professional manner. It just wouldn't look good for all of us. It would put staff and other people in a hard place. So just kind of keep in mind what we're thinking on an overall time frame as well, because that'll kind of put you in a good spot. And of course, you want to get beer and all the food that's all just sitting there waiting for you back at Maker Flat. So I think we covered the check-in. We covered what's on the peaks. We covered where the water is on the route. We covered that you have to basically design your route based on the information we're giving you. And then the last thing is what you're coming back to. So once you finish the event, you either finish at, on the Baldy Ski Hut Trail and you finish at Maker Flat, or you finish at Icehouse Canyon. We need, like I said, everyone to come back and check in at Maker Flat. We're going to have several, where RJ is showing there, we're going to have a big space set up in the campground. It won't be on the side of the road or anything. It'll be in the campground. And we'll all be there with checkboards. People will be psyched to see anyone, cheering everyone on because they finished this big thing that they didn't think they were going to do. And we're going to have another guy, Jeremy, Pacific Chefs, is going to come and help do tacos of all kind for everyone constantly. And that's going to start from 4 until about 8 or 8:30. You can come at basically at that breath is when most people finish. But we're going to have food there. We're going to have tacos there. We're going to have stuff set up for people to hang out and relax. You can come and stay as long as you want. You can camp if you want. You can hang out for a half an hour and get some food and then go home and shower and relax. Like, it is purely at that point up to the participant. Once they've come back and checked in, we just want to make sure you're having a good time instead of suffering out on the peaks is more or less the goal at that point. And one thing to know we've learned over the years is we won't have any extra parking at the campground. So as much as we'll be spending time there as a whole group, know that you will probably have to park on that main road that comes into Baldy, in and out of, the Maker Flat and just the main Baldy road. We just won't have enough parking for everyone within the campground, obviously. I know that seems like a small thing, but it does get really crowded eventually as the day goes on, type of thing. And we don't want to raise any eyebrows or get anyone upset because some people are there to camp and we're throwing an event. So we want to keep peace with everyone that's out there, type of thing. Beyond that, I feel like we've kind of covered it from the check-in, the water sources, what you're going to see on the peaks, how to access the water. We know where the aid station is. We should check in with the aid station. They should be everyone's best friend. Even if you think now, I'm whatever, I'm not going to need that. Always just remember that at least stop there to give them a heads up. And we talked about signing out. The shuttle's all good. There won't be any shuttle for the late afternoon. And I think we've kind of covered it. And so, like RJ was saying at the beginning, I'm sure people have questions. And if I haven't touched on something that you have on your mind, put it in the comments there, and we will definitely come back to it. Because I promise, if one person has a question about something, it's probably on someone else's mind too. I'm actually certain it is. We went through a lot of good information on the group hike a week or two ago that people got, and really, it's better to have more information than too little. Because when it comes to be 1:30 or 2 in the morning, and it's the day of the event, your brain is purely on the mode of put me in the mountains. But RJ, please fill in any things you think I missed and let me know. Please tell everyone what you think might be helpful to at least the overall day of event stuff there.
Honestly, you taught me things I didn't even know about the event. Where are these water sources? What?
Yeah,
I've done this twice already.
So dry.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was incredible. You hit all the marks. From here, we can move on to those questions. Kay, if you don't mind unmuting yourself and letting me know if you had anything for us.
Yeah, absolutely. There were definitely several great questions. The first one is stating, I was planning to camp Friday night. Should I secure my own site or can my family squat in the sites you will be using?
That's a good question. I have 4 sites and I have family squatting too. So what I'll do, knowing that now, how many people in your family, leave it in the comments or get in touch with me after this is, I guess, my only question. But I will probably just get a 5th one and dedicate that to whoever else feels like camping. We're allowed, I think 6 tents per site, right? So I think it is. Anyway, I'll look into that more. I'm pretty sure we're good with your family, but if you reach out and you say you have a big Mexican family, I'll add another site to it.
It sounds like it's a family of 4.
Okay.
Including the participant.
And that is a great question, because the last time we did the event, I want to say 3 other groups of people got a campsite and stayed beforehand. So it's not just us there, but
yeah,
several other people have done that in the past. So it's not going to be out of the ordinary.
Yeah, that's definitely something to mention, is like, as much as I want to cover the whole campground, I feel kind of bad doing that even. So I'll get as many as I can that I feel is appropriate. And there should be other campsites scattered throughout the entire Maker Flat area. It's a pretty large area that we can cover, but ask when you get there. And if we have something available, we'll gladly pawn it off.
Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Second question is, do we need an adventure pass?
The adventure pass for the parking, I would definitely put it in the window, because we don't have a way to differentiate whether you're part of the Fools Traverse or anything. So I would just put it in the window, and
yes,
and you'll be good. Yeah.
If you don't have one and aren't able to get one at Big 5 or I think REI ahead of time, it is a $5 ticket on the back end. You basically have to pay what you would owe. So you're not going to end up with a $50 or $60 ticket for a $5 offense. Is another
right.
insight.
Right. That is true. I've definitely been charged with $5.
Yeah.
All
Good
right.
question, though. Good question.
And just to reiterate for those who jumped on the Zoom call a little bit later, this is being recorded, so it will be available for those. And the following question is, what time and place for the volunteers? I think you may want to mention also the Zoom meeting for them.
So yeah,
the
volunteer Zoom meeting is going to be next week on the 12th. Sorry. And then we had a date change because the 14th didn't end up working out, and I apologize for that. But it is going to be on the 12th at the same time, 7 o'clock. Apologies if I try to keep that clear in the email. So sorry if you're like waiting for the volunteer segment, but you can always reach out to me in an email with whatever questions you have if you can't make it there, and or even by phone. I'll gladly walk you through what like the duties are and the expectations and the call time. But the general call time for the majority of the volunteers is going to be for the Ice House saddle aid station, and that's between the hours of 8 a.m. 7 a.m. would probably be the earlier end of it. Let's call it 6, yeah. All the way down to 4 o'clock. So being at the saddle, let's talk about that. You'll be at the saddle from 8 until 4 p.m. at the latest, earliest to latest. And we're going to have those swapped rotating out. So group. Right, yeah. Rotating groups. So you won't be there the entire day. Your group will be there from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. And then another group will swap out and start taking over your duties. So that way everyone has a fair share of work, but also it doesn't feel like super daunting. So that's kind of the idea of that. Unless you end up being at the check-in station with us at 2 a.m., which most people don't really want to get into, but I appreciate it if you do. We need the help. Then of course that's from 2 until 4 or whatever time you're available. The hardest part for that is getting through that initial rush at 2 a.m. So 2 and 3:30 at the latest. And then also I think we have the shuttle driver covered. And yeah, I think that's the bulk of it right there.
Yeah, there's definitely more information than just this coming for volunteers very, very soon. It's absolutely going to be some email info, a Zoom meeting like RJ is saying, and everyone will know what the jobs are, and we'll divide the groups up and we'll get people with friends. And so it definitely will be, it'll be all corralled in a fashionable manner.
Cool. Well, are there any other questions or?
No, there are questions in the chat. I think also that if you want to just reiterate the survival guide.
Oh yeah, good point. Okay, so yeah, if everyone's not at all clear on anything that needs to be done yet, we are going to put out a, I'll say 12 to 15 page survival guide, only with the letting you know that I think like 5 or 6 pages of that is just comics and a cover page. So it's fun, it's interactive, and it'll give you all, it'll reiterate everything that we talked about throughout this meeting and more, just to kind of solidify what you need to go through. I'm going to go ahead and release that probably about 2 weeks before. So that's like next week on the, oh, that's like 2 days from now. Yeah, I'll have it done. Maybe not 2 weeks before, but I'll get it done before the event.
We did have a follow-up question, just to make sure. So it sounds like Kyle's girlfriend wants to join as a volunteer. Is that correct, Kyle? Yes. And wondering if it's too late for that.
No, absolutely. You guys definitely need to be there together, and I would love to see Min out there with you, lugging up water to the aid station or whatever you feel like doing.
Yep, definitely. Yeah,
Cool.
volunteers go a long way on this event. It doesn't seem like it because you're kind of out in the wilderness, but the volunteers are definitely a backbone to this event that is really something special, because a lot of them are people who have done it or they've been somehow involved in the past, and it really kind of brings it full circle, for sure. A lot of people's significant others or whoever is maybe in the event and their partner is doing the volunteer. It does make it special. So yeah, please, as many of the volunteers as we can get, let's do it.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much for reiterating that too, because critical to our success. I remember the first year we did it alone and it was not the same event. I'll tell you that much.
No, it is grown beautifully.
Yeah. So, well, excellent. I hope everyone understands it a little more clearly. I appreciate you hanging in there while we went over the basics of the event and Caltopo. And thank you, Jeremy and Kay, for sitting through this with me while we like kind of navigate how we are going to knock this out. So much appreciated, and have a good night, I guess. Huh? Cheers, everyone. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.